doctors against undeath. We stand and fight with every breath against the blight of the Blacklift's keep. His army marches without rest or sleep.
All right. So first, before I launch into a bit of a description of what you find, can everyone roll a d20? And Sarah and Chappie, you guys came together, so you can either roll separately or one of you can have advantage.
Should we go for advantage, Em?
Yeah, you do it, because it would absolutely be Lexi. Yeah, true.
I've already got the vibe of how this relationship works, and
15.
Perfect. Okay.
Me too.
So 15. We've got Emma has rolled a 9. And that leaves us with Dave. What did you get, Dave?
15.
15, okay. All right. So that gives me the order that you guys are going to arrive in and how your journey here went. So fortunately, no one rolled a 1 and is going to have a point of exhaustion. And sadly, no one rolled a 20 and found the flaming Undeath on the way here. Okay. So as we begin, the wind is howling and Arinda as she crests the final ridge approaching Ironspire Keep. The looming bulk of the keep rises from the mist, its dark stone walls kissed by what little light remains in the day, flickering with eerie glows from within. And there's a charged stillness in the air, an unnatural weight of something that's waiting. Horrendous, your eyes fall upon another figure who is standing by the gate, and that will be Heave. Can you quickly describe what she sees?
So she sees a thin-eared genasi standing straight, looking up at the citadel spire, and wearing studded leather, and just appearing broodful, almost too broodful.
Okay. And Arindus, what does Heave see as he approaches the gate?
He sees a tall, relatively solidly built, muscular Asmar cleric in chainmail, covered in bits of blood, with silver eyes and a holy symbol tied at her waist, walking towards him.
Okay.
Yep. He pulls out his longbow, pulls it and draws it back and goes, "Stay back. I'm loaded. Who goes there?"
She stands there and she goes, "You appear to be too alive to spark my interest at the moment. What brings you to this place?"
As with same thing everyone wants: money and freedom, but mostly the money.
Interesting.
What brings you?
That's not what
brings you
everyone
here?
wants. I've been bought the dead that just won't stay dead. Did you not see them along the path? Maybe I'd burnt them all by the time you passed.
Heave snorts. Maybe there were a couple smoldering corpses, but I sent a few of them packing. I always pack heavy.
Okay. Yep. As you guys are having this exchange, and Heave unnotches the arrow, and Arindus approaches, you feel again a cold wind that snakes through the battlements of the keep. You see a figure in the distance, two figures in the distance. Their silhouettes cut sharp against what is now almost no light. Two sets of footsteps echo on the damp stone and dirt, unhurried and deliberate. And Heave's eyes flick to Orinda and see her unmoved as if she had foreseen this arrival long ago. And
You
then
don't
through
seem
the
surprised.
I am rarely surprised.
My kind of lady.
And then through the whispering fog, one of the approaching figures' voices rings out, steady and unwavering. And I suspect of the two of you, it'll be Lexi that calls out. What do you say, Lexi?
Friend or foe?
Either or, you can decide. I pull out my longbow again.
A flame materializes in my hand. And I say, put it away before someone gets hurt, mate.
Why does everyone seem to have fire around here? And he stows away his longbow.
The flame just shrinks into nothing.
The mist curls and dances in the light of the fire that Lexi briefly cast, flickering some embers across the damp stones. What do Dust and Heave see approaching them?
So we probably look a bit like chalk and cheese. Lexi is a fire ganassi with unruly red hair and slightly darkened skin that sort of always looks like she's been a bit singed. And there's a little bit of fire behind her eyes. And if the wind's headed in the right direction and you have a keen sense of smell, you probably can actually smell that sort of burnt wood, ashy smell. She has an arrogance about her that gives you the sense of that sort of streetwise roughness. It's not an arrogance necessarily because she's anyone particularly special, although she might be. But it's more that you can tell that she knows how she has to carry herself in order to get around in this world. And I will let Em describe her traveling companion.
So next to Lexi, quite young looking half-elf, early 20s, with short blonde hair. And really mostly what you'd notice if you were paying attention is she's really quite alert. She's looking around, she's keeping an eye on things. She's seen you guys, but she's making sure there's not others around that are out of sight or waiting in ambush. She's sticking quite close to Lexi with, I guess, a mutually protective kind of sense. Probably get from looking at the pair of them together.
So Lexi and Ark approach you, and Ark, you feel a bit of a static charge of the unbroken storm that's coming on your skin. And Arindus and Heave, they watch as Lexi, she moves like a flame almost. She moves very naturally and very comfortably. And Ark follows with sharp eyes that are untrusting, is probably the best way to describe them, as they sweep around. You all stand there at the portcullis. The air is thick. It feels wrong. The air itself feels wrong and unnatural. And before you really have more time to talk amongst yourselves or for Heave to draw his bow again, there's a rattle of chains behind the portcullis. You hear the footsteps of someone approaching you from inside the keep. Heavy boots crush gravel beneath them. and you hear a grizzled, older voice. "Thank you for coming. I'll take you now to the captain." And the speaker is a grizzled soldier, his face lined with exhaustion. And he doesn't really wait for explanation or introduction. He just jerks his head towards the gate, where another guard that you couldn't see is already cranking the mechanism open. You all look at each other, and unless anybody has any objections, you step forward into the keep, and the gate shuts behind you. As you walk through, and Ironspire is a small keep. It is not a big castle with lots of fortifications. It is something of an outpost in a place of strategic importance, but it's not a big place. It's not new and shiny. It's even before its recent troubles. It was in fair amount of disrepair, and it being under attack and repeatedly besieged in the recent past has only served to make it more ruinous. So I'm going to try and give you guys a bit of a view of what is going on. Not sure if you guys dropped me there for a second, but if you did, I apologize. So this is Ironspire, and the direction that you guys approached from is up this way from the northwest. And you're able to take in the shape and size of the keep, and it's surrounded by 20-foot high stone walls, and you can see a number of towers that are perhaps slightly higher, maybe 30, 35 feet in the air. But within the keep itself, primarily simple stone and wood buildings, thatched roofs for the most part, and very simple structures. And as you walk, you follow this soldier who met you at the gate. The air is thick now with the scent of blood and sweat and damp earth. There's an acrid bite of smouldering, burning wood to the air, which puts some of you at ease, and some of you at the smell of destruction and decay. The rain that was trickling down has stopped briefly, but a storm still looms overhead. The sky is a bruised swirl of deep grey and sickly green. And the keep's ancient stone walls, blackened by impact and wounds all around you. And you can see along the battlement a small collection of weary-looking defenders and guards who look exhausted. Some are wounded, and there's not even a clear uniform. It's a motley collection of anyone who can hold a weapon at this point. As you walk into the courtyard it's a scene of barely contained desperation. There are some soldiers who are moving like voiceless phantoms. Their armor dented, their faces hollow. Some are sitting, sharpening their weapons with slow, deliberate strokes. Others bandage wounds with what little cloth they can find. A line of more gravely wounded warriors and townsfolk sit slumped along the inner wall and around. Some murmuring prayers, and others staring off blankly with a 1,000-yard stare. A young woman, cleric or an acolyte of some kind, moves between them, her hands glowing faintly as she does what she can with dwindling divine magic. At the center of this courtyard, there's a tall figure, a human of later years, with features worn by age and battle. He wears heavily scarred plate armor and is barking orders in a voice hoarse from shouting. "Reinforce that barricade," he yells. "No, not like that. Get those spears to the north wall. Gods, if you can still stand, you can still fight." A few paces away, there are some guards who are drinking from dirty tankards of what little ale remains in the keep, and there's a clatter of dice that suggests that maybe they were gambling their last savings before the captain arrived. And in the distance, across the courtyard, a young bard wrapped in a frayed cloak who's playing a battered lute and trying to sing for the wounded, sing for the warriors, and trying to inspire one last moment of courage. The man in front of you in the plate armor introduces himself. His name is Captain Alric Vane, and he wears an expression of a man who's seen many battles, who's lost many friends, and is preparing for another night where he is uncertain whether anyone will survive. He turns to you, says, "You'll find no glory here. If you've come for glory, then you're in the wrong place. If you've come for gold," and his eyes linger briefly on each of you, then that's one thing that we do have. The Lord's Alliance has provided quite a sum if we can keep out of trouble until the army arrives. Who are you? Why are you here?
Captain Vane, I'm here for the gold, but what I want more is the amnesty that you offer at Baldur's Gate. Was that a promise?
Yeah. And all of you would know, having travelled here over the last days and weeks to get to Ironspire, that all throughout the cities of the Lord's Alliance, particularly Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter, there were large recruiting campaigns underway for mercenaries, for men-at-arms, for skilled warriors. And one of the things that was offered was unconditional pardons. So it appears perhaps that Heave is looking to absolve himself of some past event. He looks at you, and then he looks at the rest of the group. "Cleric, I can tell why you're here, and there'll be plenty for you to send back to the depths."
Keeping the dead where they belong and the living where they belong is why I'm here. The star waned and burnt its light to dust. There is always work to be done when that happens. I saw your calling soon after and have headed here to do my part.
Thank you. Really aren't many anymore, but we appreciate each one of you. And he turns to Lexi and asks,
While the rest of you were talking, I actually would have attempted to push Ark behind me somewhat, and I would have said, fairly hushed, I assume the rest of you might not have heard it, "I shouldn't have brought you with me. If we can get you out of here, we will. I'll just stay alone."
Damned if you think you're going anywhere without me.
This is worse than I thought it would be.
We've got to pay the bill.
He has a passive perception of 18, so he's listening in on this conversation like he was right next to you.
Cool.
All right. So you've all had a moment. The captain is still distracted. He's multitasking, and he turns his attention back to you. Here's what you need to know. We've set up defense zones around the keep. the castle walls are divided into a number of zones, and this group of you will assign you to look after one of those zones, and your job is simple: hold the line. Your section, and at this point, I'm going to do the magic of the D4. Okay. You guys will be over here on this section of the wall over on the eastern side. And he says, there has been some contact there, but not the heaviest fighting. You will have one of our Thunder Ballista on the tower there at the northeast corner to support you. The guards who normally man it are dead. We've had to make do. There are men now assigned to that ballista. They are convict. They are chained to the ballista. They're not soldiers, but they've been using that weapon for probably 36 hours now. And they know how to aim. And the promise of a lighter sentence can make a man do remarkable things, he says. And he looks briefly at Heave.
36 hours. They need rest.
I'm not going to tell you how many points of exhaustion they have. He pauses now for a minute, and you get the impression that you won't have long if you had any questions or information that you wanted from the captain before you head forth to the wall. Now would be the...
Can you tell us about the enemy? Undead, obviously. What do we know?
He sighs and rubs his temple. Says, undead. Lots of them. Not just shambling corpses. Someone or something is making them stronger, smarter. We've seen skeletons wielding weapons with unnatural precision. Things that shouldn't be walking at all. Ogres stitched back together with black iron. Revenants and shadows that don't stay dead. We've had to take to burning our dead, lest they turn against us.
Why not cut the head off the snake?
We know
about
that there's a
to ask the same thing.
necromancer leading them, but no one's laid eyes on them. There have been no demands, no warnings, just wave after wave of corpses.
And why
We
here?
can-
What makes this little keep something that they want?
You've all adventured across Faerun and you'd be vaguely familiar with the geography. This particular point where Ironspire is a bit of a strategic pass. It's perhaps one of the outermost outposts of the Lord's Alliance, and the canyons and ravine passes that are nearby would allow fairly unfettered access to major cities like Neverwinter. So that's the strategic importance. In answering you, he says, I am here because this is where I live, and this is where my family has lived for hundreds of years. And if we don't hold the keep, then the next village down the road and the next village will fall. There's nowhere else to make a stand.
Sorry.
All right. So he turns and he looks out, and the mist fog is getting thicker. The moon, there is a moon a 3/4 moon tonight, but there is a thick fog rolling in over the tree line around the keep. And his voice comes now quieter and more distant. The healers are spent. What supplies we have are running dry. There's no cavalry charge coming to save us. No bright holy light to turn the tide. If you go down, you better hope that you can get back up, because no one is going to come for you. And as he's speaking, he's interrupted. A guard calls his attention. Says, "Captain, we need to send word down to the eastern wall." He turns to the guard and says, "There's no one left to send. Figure it out." And he turns back to you, looks back at you once more. He says, "My squire was killed, and there are not enough fighting men to waste on such luxuries." He points. "That ladder will take you to your post. Hold the line, and if you see something that shouldn't be there, burn it." And he turns away. He's already moved on to the next group of warriors and mercenaries. So you guys walk through the town of the keep, and what little is left is, as I described it, there are wounded and there are exhausted, scared-looking soldiers, a handful of mercenaries and adventurers like yourselves in various states of preparation and repair, and you're escorted up to the northeast tower, where there's a ladder that climbs onto the wall, onto the battlement. And there's another ladder that leads up to the tower where the ballista and the convicts are chained. And as you're walking up to the ladder, the young bard who was playing, you hear his gentle melody, and it comes through. And are you proficient in history?
No.
No. Okay. You don't know what he's singing about, but it sounds lovely.
What language is it?
It's in common. In fact,
Okay.
I'll play, you can hear a little bit of it. Ignore the fact that it has an electric guitar and the very powerful loops.
I was going to say I'm impressed.
Through blood and fire, they stood as a one on Ironspire. Blades were broken, shields were torn, yet still they fought till light of still there's like one last shot down. Who had quit within their wall, a whisper veiled in trails call, the healer's few, the wounded cry, but none would hear. They stood with
You listen as he keeps playing, and you feel a brief touch of warmth, each of you. You all take a D6 inspiration die. You're a very powerful bard.
If we all survive this, I'm going to be his agent, and we're going to tour the planes of existence
he may well take you up on that. And that might be a fun campaign premise for later. All right. So I'll just see that quite a long stretch of wall that you've been allocated. Probably nearly 250 feet of wall that you'll be
Between
protecting.
four.
Between four of you. And as you climb onto the wall, the cold night air is much sharper atop the battlements and slick with the condensation of the mist, but also blood and down into the clearing around the keep. You can see not very far because of the fog and the mist, but small burning fires. You see the fallen bodies of a range of creatures, some that you recognize, some that you don't. But beyond that, you can't even see the tree line, even though you know it's there. To your left, I guess it would be, the squat tower is probably another 10 feet higher than the wall, and you can see a silhouette of a heavy ballista that's there, lined against the sky. And that weapon is crewed by 2 convicts, and you can see them, they glance down at you, make no other interaction, and sit down again, resting in their chains. There are 3 other soldiers on the wall. They all wear cloaks or tunics that carry the cross or the crest of Ironspire. And they quickly introduce themselves to you. There's a young human named Talon, and he's an archer by trade, and he looks to have quick, practiced hands, but his quiver is almost empty. He has but a handful of arrows left. There's an elven woman, Mara, and she looks, well, she's an elf. It's hard to tell. She could be 25 or 200. But she looks tired. The keen sense that you normally associate with the olds that you've interacted with in the past, it seems dulled. But she is standing against the battlement, scanning to any movement. And the 3rd soldier introduces himself as Bren. He's barely more than a boy. He's a young human man. Looks very earnest and scared. And he holds a short sword. And even with no enemy nearby, his knuckles are gripping that sword so tightly that you can see from a distance that they're blanched white. These 3 are at your disposal. You can command them or relieve them as you desire. And we've now probably got just a moment while you look around your battlement, your wall, before something happens. Is there anything that you want to do?
I'd like to cast Mage Armor on myself, please.
That seems very sensible.
He would like to use one of his class abilities, Detect Portal. Once per short rest, as an action, you detect the distance and direction to the closest planar portal within 1 mile of you, just to see if there's any potential way that the undead may be coming and going from.
So you close your eyes and you push your awareness out as far as you can reach, and while the material plane feels distorted, but there's not a portal that you can locate.
Ark, are you
It's
wearing
alright.
armor?
No.
What's your AC?
You think I'm pretty resilient from your experience.
I know, but I'm contemplating casting mage armor on you as well. Because I can do that.
My AC is 60.
Yeah, it was damn high. I thought it was. Yeah, cool. I probably can't improve that.
All right.
Erin just walks up to Bren, the young boy,
Mm.
and she goes, "You can't outrun death, but you can make it regret chasing you." And she casts light on his sword and goes, "So you can always see in the darkness, and so the undead can see who is returning them to their grave."
He looks at you first with a sense of awe, get the impression that this young boy is not wise in the ways of the world, much less divine magic. And he blinks back tears. And Mara, the elf, turns to you and says, "The boy lost his father and both his brothers only yesterday. The sword is their family heirloom." And you can see Bren is touched, I guess, by the act, and the look of fear that he was wearing is now still there, but certainly there's a sense of courage and a fire in his eyes that wasn't there before.
Heave approaches Talon and goes, "Soldier, you an archer too?"
Talon,
I think it was the archer.
yeah, Talon is the archer. Yeah, he has a longbow, and he's, yeah, I was only in training until the attack started, and then got a lot more practice since then. But yeah, so he carries a longbow, and there's about 6 arrows in his quiver.
Quick question: how many arrows do I have in my quiver?
You have 20.
20. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him another 6.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. So he takes.
And then,
Yep.
so I'll have 14, and then I'm going to just put my hand on his shoulder and say, "For a bit of luck," and then I cast guidance on him.
Okay. He gets a brief sense of warmth and almost invigorated by the arcane magic that passes through him. Okay. Now, I've clumped you all at the north end of that wall. The guards, the 3 of them, have spread out along the wall. Where would you like to be?
I
I'd
think
like
we
to
need
actually
to spread
talk about
out.
something. And which one of you's been in charge, and how have you been doing this? What's your plan of attack?
They all look at each other. The sergeant, she fell not but an hour ago. We just carried her down to the pyre.
I'm sorry for your loss, and which one of you is second in command?
Mara, the elven woman, I guess it would be me.
You guess.
I guess. You get the impression that there was not a strong rank structure here, and what organized armed force there was here been completely shattered. And now it's Friday night in the ER. It's a complete shambles.
Should we break into team leading roles then?
You tell me.
Okay. I think I'd like to stay near the ballista. I have pretty good eyesight. Should be able to direct him from there.
Okay. You want to stay on the wall or up the tower?
That's a good question. I'll
There
stay
is
up
enough
the
room
tower.
around the ballista. Yeah, there is enough room around the ballista that you can stand at the battlements and not interfere too much with that. You might stuff to the very north edge to your very left might be a bit hard to see, but okay.
How high is the wall?
The wall is 20 feet. The tower is another 10 feet up.
Arendis would do a couple of things. She would take one of the flasks of holy water and try and decant that out a little bit and give a small sort of hot or stoppered bottle to the archers and say, you may wish to dip your arrows in this. It is blessed. There is nothing like a little holy fire to return the dead back where they came from. And she would give that to Talon and to Heave in terms of maybe give your arrows a little more holy power. Air is probably look to stay relatively central in terms of being able to keep as many of this lot alive. So depending on where everybody else goes, she would try to stay reasonably centrally placed to everybody else, if that makes sense, so that she can hit as many of them as possible with please don't die yet because there's more stuff to kill.
Yes.
So it would be, so she would place herself depending on where everybody else goes to try and stay as central to the group as possible.
Okay.
Actually,
as
head
far
down
as
towards
the
Not
holy
necessarily
water
central
goes,
to the wall.
as far as the holy water goes, you came with buckets. The amount that you distilled out for the archers doesn't affect your.
I would give them enough to. I would give them. Okay, I would give them enough to be able to actually coat their arrows.
Yeah, there's enough
before
for
they fire.
for the 26 arrows that they have between them, and
Many
you
thanks,
still
older
have
lady.
2 throwable flasks.
Okay.
Okay, Lexi.
Actually, head down towards the bottom then.
Yeah, I think we need to spread out.
Sean, are these 5-foot squares?
So the squares that are actually on the map are actually 10 feet squares.
Okay.
Because when it zoomed, the walls 5 feet wide are not going to be fun if somebody goes down. You won't be able to go anywhere. Yeah, so the squares you can see are actually 10 feet, but you can use the.
So this is a sort of 200
if
foot
you wanted
wall.
to check. Yeah, correct. So what you're looking at is about 240 feet of wall roughly between all of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arendis, just as a heads up, I can also cast Healing Word as well, in case you need someone to be brought up to.
Useful skill.
One of you.
Try and zoom this so that I've got everyone captured. All right. And as you are making these preparations and the archers are dipping their arrows in the holy water, you hear, long before you see, guttural, groaning, thumping noises, chittering noises, the sounds of bones scraping, a distorted, inhuman voice beyond the tree. Everybody make a perception check.
Nat 20.
Fine.
Nat 1.
Okay. 7 for Arindis. And 13 for Ark. Lexi was distracted by something
Ark.
shiny.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
Ark.
Ark,
Yeah.
Ark might be shiny.
I'm worried about her safety. I shouldn't have brought her.
I don't know that you had a huge choice
No, I don't think I did, but I'm still worried
Mm.
about her safety.
there. Atop the tower heave, you see it before anyone else. The mist shudders as if recoiling from what lies within, and 2 massive forms break the fog. And it takes you a second to realize what you're looking at, because even though you recognize the form of an undead ogre, their outline is broken by the fact that the 2 giant lumbering ogre zombies that you can see have strapped to their back 30-foot siege ladders.
Okay.
And
Eve just... Sorry.
sorry, so you see these 2 ogre zombies siege ladders. Around them, milling around them, you can see skeletons, like specters emerging from the gloom. You can hear the clinking of their bones and their rusted weapons, and 1 or 2 of them seem to be on fire. The ground scorches as they step, and now everyone hears the footfall of the ogre. Loud thumps, and you hear first one, then the other, and then all around the castle you hear the roaring of 20 ogres, 30 ogres. Everyone roll initiative.
So that's a 13 for Heave.
13 to hit.
18 for Ark.
8 for Lexi.
80 for Arindis.
Park, what did you roll? Sorry.
I also got 18. My dex is 3.
Just D&D Beyond that's screwing me. Good. Okay.
Sorry,
Alright.
I was using actual.
No, yeah, I was trying to update you in the initiative order, and it was just being petulant. Okay. And initiative for those guys. Okay. So, first in the initiative order, the skeleton. Oh, one of the skeletons. He's going to move his 30 feet straight toward the wall. And that brings us to Arinda with the ballista and then arc. Arindis. You can see the dead.
Yes, is going to summon her spiritual weapon, which is a giant shimmering. It looks a little bit like a hammer and a little bit like a grave digging spade. And she's going to, she can summon it 60 feet away. So is going to place it probably directly in front of her, about at 60 feet out
Okay.
on the ground. So in front of the oncoming horde.
You'll have to forgive my poor mastery of the spade. But there you go.
Oh,
Okay, I've got a
very
spiritual
nice.
weapon.
Yeah, it's not there. It's a holy looking spade. And she will hold. So that's bonus action. It can't attack from there. It's too far. She's going to hold its action in case anything, because any of those get in range as they approach. But and will whack one if it goes past. But otherwise, that's it.
Okay. All right. You are holding your spiritual weapon for if one gets close enough to do something. Okay.
Yep.
All right. The ballista. So they will fire. They'll make their own decision about what to shoot unless you tell them otherwise. And it doesn't cost you guys an action to command the ballista, but it takes both of them, one to load and one to aim, in order that it does fire. There we go. That's a slightly better spiritual weapon. At least I can see it better. Okay. So the ballista is going to fire at the ogre that it can see. And it hit with a 24, and it does 4d10 of damage. So it does 18 damage to the ogre. The northernmost ogre. It gets 18 damage.
Okay. That leaves us to with the other soldiers on deck, and then Heave.
All right. I don't know if you've got a voice modifier going there, Sean.
Sounded
Yeah.
terrible from
Yeah.
That is annoying. Yes, it's supposed to be turned off. So apologies. But I
No,
guess
that's
that would
okay.
be slightly humorous.
So Ark is going to raise her hand, and you see a firebolt target the enemy furthest south. I can't read what that is. I'm sorry.
The very
And-
south end.
Yeah, the one that's
Yep.
slightly whiter.
That is you can
It's a
barely
20
make it out. It's a zombie
Yeah. But
that hits.
that is Ark has been like quite alert. She's seen it, and just goes straight for it, and so that zombie takes 9 fire damage.
9 fire damage. Okay. All right.
Lexi, watch out!
Is that it
That's
for
the
Ark?
end of my turn. Yeah.
Okay. It's now the ogre zombies' turn. With their 30 feet of movement, they're going to lumber forward towards the wall. They're going to scream, and that's going to end their turn. And then it's the guard turn. So we're gonna have a round of arrows, and "14 misses. One of those precious arrows that he provided sinks into the dirt, and Mara is going to fire her crossbow, which does hit the closest skeleton and causes 8 damage. Okay. That brings up Heave.
All right, so Heave decides to stay put where he is. He sees the ogre. I believe the ogre is within 90 feet of him, the one on the north side of the screen, towards the top.
Yes.
You can just confirm. Yep. So Heave's gonna use a bonus action to cast Hunter's Mark, and he can use that as a class ability.
Yep.
And then Heave is going to attack with his longbow, which has a range of 150 feet. And he's going to use one of the arrows dipped in the holy water.
Okay.
So that is, in terms of damage, 25 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. So does the holy water on the arrows do any extra damage? Or is it just for flavor?
Yeah. So rules is written, it doesn't, but I'm gonna
Cool.
say that you can have a D4 of
sure.
radiant damage for your holy water dipped arrows, because she had so much holy water.
Okay. No worries. Give me a second while I get my dice checked. But yep. So 2, 5. Oh, that's pitiful. 6. It's not too bad. 11 points of damage.
Okay.
All right. That's it. So you also give bonus action, happy where you are. Good.
Yep.
All right. So that's now the rest of the horde.
Everyone's back again.
We need everyone.
How about now?
Oh, we're back to Sean. Now you're muted.
Okay. Can you still hear me now?
You are Sean
Yes.
again.
Okay. Fiddle with my audio as we go. Okay, it's the rest of the horde. Lexi, you're on deck in just a second. So we're going to get 30 feet of movement. 30 feet of movement. 30 feet. Movement. And they're all going to fire, but the skeletons, the 5 skeletons you can see are all going to fire bows. And relying on Beyond for this. It's going to be one against each of the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people they can see. Be one against basically everyone. Who's got the lowest AC? Probably going to be the guards, to be honest. Anyone lower than a 13? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Right. Okay. A barrage of arrows. One arrow sinks into. This will be Bren. Or 6 points of damage. Okay.
Can you
Lexi.
point out on the screen which one is a Bren?
Yeah, let me try and make them a little bit. So Bren has just gone green.
Okay, cool.
Mara's just going to go yellow. Then our Archer is going to go blue in a second. Lexi, you're up.
Can I just get a range check on me to that closest ogre, please? I think it's less than 120, but that's me eyeballing it.
Yeah, it's probably right on 120.
144
Okay.
Thank you.
or 139 if you go to the edge of the yoke. Sorry.
More than 120, therefore I'm not going to try and hit him. I will therefore focus on the zombie that Ark has already started attacking. And I will cast a firebolt at him. Just shoot out with my hand. And that would be a 17 to hit.
It's roll damage.
All of 2.
2 points. Okay. This
Fire.
waves, this giant dart of fire shoots across and just singes the eyebrows off the.
He didn't need those anyway.
No, to be fair, he really didn't. Okay, that brings us back to the top of the initiative order. And Arinda.
Arindus is going to guiding bolt the northern ogre, which is just under 120 feet.
Yeah.
20 to hit.
That
So that's 16 radiant damage. And the next attack on it has
is
advantage.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else?
And bonus action. Yeah, bonus action. I'm going to move my spiritual weapon forward because it can move 20 feet. And I'm going to have a crack at the skeleton in front of it.
Perfect. Right, roll and attack.
Nine.
And so your shovel flies through the air and just slightly deviates to the side of the skeleton. But it's close. All right. That brings us to the skeleton, who are going to take. So it brings us to some of the skeletons, not all of them. They're going to take their 30 feet. And that brings us to the ballista. No one's told them otherwise, so they're going to shoot again at the ogre.
So they're shooting at the top one, they have advantage.
They're shooting at the top one, they have advantage. It's thinking. Maybe it's. Maybe it just doesn't want to roll it. Roll. See. So that hit 40, 10 piercing damage. 21 points of damage against that ogre zombie. He's looking rough at this point. That northern ogre has taken a couple of giant bolts of big heavy bullets to the chest, and he's still coming. He's still lumbering forward with his ladder, but he looks pretty rough. Okay. Ark, you're up with Heave on deck after Bren.
Sorry, so Ark is going to cast another firebolt at that same zombie with a 16 to hit. But just glances past for 1 fire damage.
You got the one hair that was left in his eyebrows.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all
One
for my turn.
damage. Alright. And that gives us Bren. Bren, you can't really do much still. And that gives us Heave. And then after Heave are the other guards, and then Lexi be up next.
Okay. So, I think Heave stays where. Wait, has Ogres moved yet? I thought the Ogres moved ahead of Heave.
No, you're right, they did, and I just skipped them. Good pick up.
I was hoping that
Yeah,
they would
okay,
come
so-
closer.
Okay, fine. So the ogres are 30
Just a
feet
little
closer
bit.
to you.
Just a little.
Just enough.
Okay. All right. If the ogres are moved up closer to 30 feet, he would move down. The ballot would down to the wall, down the tower to the wall by 30 feet, so it can be within 30 feet of that northern ogre as possible.
Okay. Down the tower.
Yep.
That's going to be 10 feet of down.
Yep.
And there.
Yep. Cool. And as the ogre moved 30, as the northern ogre moved 30 feet, yeah.
He has my DM version of the screens just for it. So
Okay, fair enough.
drag them. Wood way, there you go. Yeah, so they've moved.
Appreciate
30.
that. Yep. Now, I'm just doing a range check. Is Heave about just outside of 30? It's like, how far away is this topmost ogre away from Heave? About 60
58
feet. 58
60
feet.
yeah.
Oh, not close enough. Oh, so Heave is going to just fire off another arrow. So that is 11 to hit.
Against the
Yeah.
Sorry, doing this without my.
All good. Take your time. Oh, excellent. All right.
Yeah.
So then,
Hunk of
big target.
Big target.
Okay. So including the holy water damage and the hunter's mark damage, that is a total of 6, 12, 14, 19 points of damage.
19 points of damage against the ogre zombie.
Yep.
It's looking rough, but he's still up.
All right. And
Your map will flicker for a second. Sorry, guys.
that's all good. And in the meantime, I think he will then just end his turn there.
Apparently, it's the time that the technology has chosen to completely fall over. So that's a fun time for everyone.
I'm
Now
impressed
it's
it
the
waited that
guards'
long.
turn.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It is the guards' turn. Mara's going to fire her crossbow. An 11. That hits. 6 points of damage. Talon's going to fire his longbow. That's a 5. Talon misses again. He did tell you that he was still learning.
That's a right sport.
Yeah. And other skeletons who didn't move are going to move now, as is the Husk Zombie. Oh, arrow attack. Okay, so God, horrendous. 16 to hit.
Hits.
4 points of hitting damage. God, now it's getting worse. Now it's doing it to a spectator method. The Gar of the broken 4 and 5 points of piercing damage. Okay, and that takes us to Lexi. Is it you? I've got no, I literally can't see any of my initiative or right at this very second.
I think so.
Yeah, it's Lexi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
now
then
have
Lister.
Ogre Zombie B in range. So I would like to cast a firebolt at him. It's only an 11 to hit though.
It hits.
Thank goodness for that. And a full 10 fire damage, please.
10 damage against.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Anything else for your turn?
No. Thank you.
I'm just going to lose your map for a second and I'm going to try and physically refresh the entire game. See that it doesn't stop us.
Mhm.
Another. "30 seconds, and we'll just see. And then failing that, I'm going to go back and do this old, which is really sad. Because it took an hour and a half to program the map.
Oh no.
What you get?
I want it to work for you now.
This. Down. Always.
How's everyone doing otherwise?
And chat amongst you. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves for just a minute, and then if this doesn't go, then I'm going to have to. I'll share a PDF version of the map with you, and we'll try and see if that works for us.
Cool. My map's still working. I don't know why. So my map's still live.
It took me half the game to realize that I could actually get into the map myself through D&D Beyond and not just rely on the copy you had in StreamYard.
Okay. Yeah.
But mine's working.
can also do.
And then Sarah messaged me, and I just figured it out.
Actually, I tried to access the D&D Beyond thing, but I couldn't find the right link. Anyone? Because someone put the link in the group.
If you go to your character
So
sheet in
you and
D&D
your
Beyond,
character
up on
sheet,
the top right-hand corner, it's got little
Yep.
campaign, hold back, and then it's got a little
Yep.
play arrow, and you just press that one.
Wait, in the app itself or the website?
I'm doing that
On-
off the website.
on the website.
So
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I think that's what okay.
I've got the app up to actually do my rolls in, but then I've got
Yes.
it playing in the background.
John, do you want me to see if I can... Well, my map seems to be working.
There we go.
Have you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if this will load.
I've got it.
Yeah, I think this may be a me problem, not a D&D Beyond problem. Which
Yeah, I can see the
Do
map
you want,
now.
you want to see if I can share the map?
yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
Is that an option? Let's
So if you click present,
Yeah.
and you should be able to share your screen, or at least it'll pop it up for
Here's
the-
the- I've got lots of options here. It would be that one thing. Yeah. Try that. Is that how's that?
That's Emma's version showing. All right.
Yeah.
It's halfway to where I need to be. Now I just need to know where we are in my initiative.
So,
Lexi just fired
Lexi's
off
just gone.
around.
Which
Yep.
should take us back to the top of the round. I'm pretty
to the
sure I
top of
was
the
last
round?
in the initiative.
Okay.
It looks like the ballista's next.
Yeah. So
Going
the
across
ballista,
the top.
Yeah. So the ballista goes when the two gunners go, which is actually earlier. So they fire between
Okay.
Elias and R. It's a bit of a complex.
So the only other
initiative
thing to do is the ogres.
Yeah. Okay. So the ogres are going to make it to the, I think, this round probably.
Wait, haven't they? They've already moved this round
Oh no, they have. Yeah.
because they
Already
moved just
moved.
before Heave.
They're supposed to be grouped. but
Yes.
They're not grouped. Okay. Then that brings us to the top of the round.
Okay.
And that will make it. There is a skeleton that moves before you, but that's all right. Let's, Rindus, it's your round while I
Okay.
juggle a few things from this end. What do we got?
Dex save on the skeleton that's nearest to the wall. So that would be this one. So dex save.
I think that. Say. 20.
Passes.
Saves.
So saves no damage.
Unnatural skeleton movement.
Unnatural skeleton. And then I'm going to move in the spiritual weapon behind this one here. I might be able to do that. There you go. There's and wet that one with the spiritual weapon.
Roll an attack.
Can see who I use. So that's Divinity 20
That'll definitely hit.
and 10 hits damage.
10 points of damage. Again. All right. Anything else for your turn?
Yeah, that's my turn.
Okay. That brings us down to ballista. And they're going to fire again at the zombie. What of damage? That's 18 damage to the ogre zombie. That northernmost ogre zombie 4 hits the ground, stops moving for a second, and then roars and climbs back to its feet. Undead Fortitude. Okay,
Good damn necromancers.
that'll make it Ark's turn.
So Ark is going to curse. I measure it as exactly 120 feet from Ark to the northernmost ogre. Is everyone happy with that?
I'm happy it's within the fudgeable range. Yep.
And so you see Ark just really freak out. And this sort of orb form in her hand, but it splits in two and one targets each of those zombies as I cast a twinned chromatic orb. And let me roll some dice here. Before you take that natural one, luckily Ark is fairly lucky and she is going to roll that again. Oh, with an 11 to hit.
On the ogre zombie.
Yeah, and so it's on both.
So
And then a twin spelled, yes. And then this is going to be fire damage. And I don't know if that is going to let me do that on there. All right, that's 18 fire damage to both zombies.
That northernmost zombie, he stumbles for a second. He hits the ground. As he hits the ground this time, the siege ladder buckled and twisted around him. And where are we? My initiative at the bottom. This time he stays dead.
Thank goodness for that.
All right. So
Can I just lean over and say, okay, yeah, I was right to bring you.
Told you so.
Mhm.
Fine.
okay. So two chromatic orbs of fire fly out, and one they both hit their big ogre zombie targets, and that northern guy who's been pummeled is now finally dead. His ladder falling short of the wall. But that brings us to the ogre zombies in the initiative order. So zombie B, if someone can drag zombie B up to the wall. Yeah, make the wall. Or at least enough to reach with its ladder on this movement. And it stays at the bottom of the ladder for now, holding the ladder braced for its brethren to charge up. And that brings us to Bren. Bren's going to move to where the ladder is, and he's going to hold his action in case anything makes it to the top of the wall. And that brings us to Heave.
All right. So I'm just going to... So Heave, I think, is going to try to move to target the other zombie. Or theoretically, what is... Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, sorry. So Heave is going to move to target the other zombie, but before he does, the ladder, is it made of wood or metal?
Sorry, just dropped there for a second. Say that again.
All good. Hey, Sean, is the ladder made of wood or metal?
The ladder appears to be a combination of pieces of iron and bone and wood and bits of leather and skin and hide. It's a hodgepodge.
Okay. And I imagine the ladder reaches the top of the wall. Would you allow me to attack the ladder to try to destroy it?
So you can I guess it depends on how you're going to attack the ladder, because it's about 5 feet over the battlements. So you can, I guess if you attack the bits you can reach, it would still be touching the wall below your reach. So you have to do something to either take out the base of it or destroy the integrity of its rungs somehow.
Yeah. I was hoping to target, let's say, one of the side rails of it directly in the middle. So that way it may essentially just, if this is the ladder, it'll be like one arm might break like that.
Yep.
Oh, then again, the rung, actually, no, I see what you mean. The rungs would still keep it in place. Okay. If that's the case, he would just move 30 feet to, no, that's Talon, that's not Heave. Sorry. He would move 30 feet to approximately here. Nope, I am having, yep, here we go, just about here. And then is going to attack the zombie. And just doing a distance check. Not. Would you allow that to be 90 feet?
Which zombie?
Okay.
Sorry, which one are you trying to hit?
Ogre zombie.
Oh yeah, bottom ogre zombie.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Just
That's
within?
your range.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to use a bonus action to move my hunter's mark to him, and then I'm going to attack.
Okay.
So that is a 23 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. Regular damage plus hunter's mark plus the holy water arrow. Oh, that's not great. It's 12 points of damage.
12 points of damage.
Sorry, 11 points of damage. I miscounted. Yep. And that is my turn.
Might be back in business here, maybe. There's a giant X on
Excellent.
my screen now, which wasn't there before. Hey, that's exciting. I can see. He can fly, he can talk. Okay. So, I think I'm back in business, which is very exciting. It only cost us like a substantial amount of time. That's okay. So, the skeletons now are going to have their move. I'm just going to make it 30 feet and on top. He's going to make it 30 feet base of the ladder. He's quite going to get there. These skeletons are going to attempt to carry the ladder themselves between the two. This guy. Oh, that's unlucky. The one who to the wall is the one that you've been optimizing. Gets to the top of the wall, sees an elf with a crossbow, half elf, has been throwing firebolts at it, and a fire genasi has been throwing firebolts at it, and is going to attack.
Bren had a held action. For if something got to the top of the ladder.
He did have a held action, so this is going get resolved roughly about the same time. In fact, we'll resolve him first because that might just finish things for him. He's gonna swing with his short sword, which is with the light cantrip, wasn't it, that cast on it?
Yeah.
He's gonna swing and miss, and his sword clangs against the battlements, leaving the skeleton to have a swing. It's going to make an attack with its short sword against Lexi, because Lexi's a fly shit closer than to where I landed the token.
Yeah.
It's a 7, which is going to miss. So the skeleton also swings its sword and misses, cries out in frustration.
Sean, you still there?
Looks like he's frozen momentarily.
Rest of the
Guy's back.
turn just before Lexi.
Oh, he's back. We lost you for a bit. The skeleton swung, missed, and cried out in frustration,
Skeleton
and then you
swung,
froze.
Yeah, skeleton swung, miss, and then I froze. Okay, you didn't miss much. I was mostly monologuing. So it's the guard's turn, the other remaining guards, other than Bren. So Mara's going to do a melee attack on the skeleton. It's not playing nicely. She swings and misses. And Talon, seeing what's going on, he's going to run 30 feet. He's going to dash to bring him into melee with the skeleton and the ladder in case anything else happens there. That brings us to Lexi.
Cool. Lexi would step in a little bit closer to that skeleton and then hold her hands out in front of her and literally shoot a sheet of flame that goes in like a cone out at that skeleton. Can I get a dex save from your skeleton, please?
True 9 plus 0.
Cool. So you get a half of my 13 fire damage.
Okay, it's dead. It just melts to a pile of bone and sinew and flesh and so forth. So that guy is dead.
I'm just going to look over it. I can yell one each, but who's counting?
Okay. And that brings us down to the end of the initiative order, which brings us back to Horrendous.
All right. Horrendous is going to move down his feet so that she can throw holy water on the ogre skeleton standing at the bottom of the ladder, which is range spell attack. So that's 14 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. 2d6, that's 10 radiant damage.
I keep thinking that they're vulnerable to radiant, but
No.
10 points of damage. That skeleton looked pretty decrepit. You took off the holy water, singed off an arm, and so it's still carrying its short sword in its one good arm.
And then my holy spade is, as a bonus action, is going to whack the other skeleton with a 20 to hit.
And that's hits.
Okay.
It does
And
damage.
force damage.
All right, both those skeletons also looking much worse for wear. It would now be the ballista's turn. They can't really see the skeletons north end are too close to the wall for them to hit. They can't pitch their ballista down far enough, so they're gonna attack the zombie at the bottom right of screen. And that's gonna hit it. Yep, AC is right. So they hit it and it a reasonable chunk of damage while we're talking. And then we are 12 damage to
Ark is freaking out at the fact that a skeleton has gotten so close to Lexi and the rest of us up on the wall. And you just see another sort of fiery kind of ball form in her hand as she casts another chromatic orb at zombie ogre B. And that is a 10 to hit.
it hits. Not much AC.
And that is 16 fire damage.
16 damage.
That is Ark's turn.
That ogre zombie now at the base of the ladder looking pretty hurt. Full of scorch marks and other signs that it's had a rough time. Would now be its point in the initiative count. It's going to hold its action until its skeletons have all made it onto. And that leaves us with Bren. Seeing that wall is breached, is going to climb down the ladder. And he is going to make a melee attack against.
Can someone stop that fool?
Don't kill the child.
I said stop the fool, not kill him. He's going to get himself killed doing that.
At least he'll be with his family.
Bren, you watch.
That's one of the
as
most
this
sentimental things I've ever heard.
It is not his time.
This farm boy essentially slides down the ladder like he's sliding down a banister, hit the ground, and cleave the skeleton in half with his short sword. And then he looks up and sees that he is now face to face with a 10-foot tall ogre that's covered in rotting flesh. Just in this moment, that look of courage in his eyes flickers a little bit. But that's his turn. And Heave. Down to you.
Heave sees this all unfolding and thinks, oh, that poor lad. Someone should probably try to stop him or try to save him. Either or. Anyway, so Heave moves 30 feet here. He keeps an eye on the skeletons over here trying to pick up the ladder, but sees that the ogre is the bigger threat at the moment. The ogre is approximately 80 feet away, which is good. So now he's going to attack again by firing his arrow. So let's see, what is that to hit? That is a 13 to hit.
That hits.
Yep. And then, so, same damage for 4. 8, 9, and that is 13. So that's 13 points of force damage. And also, as it happens, I didn't realize that I had this ability because this is a new D&D feature. Because I have mastery over the longbow. If a creature is hit by my longbow, I can deal damage to it. I can reduce its speed by 10 feet until the start of my next turn. So it's just, you can't move as much. It's holding a ladder, but still can't move. Can only move 10 feet less.
Ogre's speed is reduced by 10 feet.
Yeah. Cool. So
Right.
that was my action. I didn't use my bonus action, but I don't think I would be using
Your
that at
hunter's
anything
mark
at the
is
moment.
still there.
Yeah. All right. And I end my turn.
Gives us the remaining skeletons. So there's one guy who's looking pretty rough. You make that face to face with Bren, and he's gonna swing his rusty sword. The farm boy. And he hits. And you guys watch as the skeleton just slashes Bren across the arm. He takes 4 damage. And then the other skeletons, seeing that things aren't going particularly well down there, down the far end, are going to abandon the ladder. They're going to both move 30 feet, and they're going to both fire a short bow attack.
At Brent.
You
Yep,
Heave.
that makes
I
sense.
can see him on top of the wall. Except that I'm clicking the button to make the rolls happen, and it's not rolling.
I guess that means it misses.
Yeah.
I'm
must have
kidding. I'm
missed.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, must have missed. Hang on. There you go.
Okay.
That one did.
I missed so badly,
Yep.
didn't even get to swing.
You could.
19, that'll hit.
Yep. 19 will hit. Yes.
And you take 9 points of piercing damage.
Yep.
And that brings us to Mara seeing the stupid farm boy having launched himself at the ogre zombie. She's going to have a crossbow attack. She will. My screen's frozen. She is going to hit the ogre zombie, and she's going to do 6 points of damage. Every little bit counts. And Talon is going to fire his longbow. See if we can actually hit something in this battle. Roll a 6 hits it entirely. And that brings us to Lexi.
Lexi would like to look at exactly where that ogre zombie is sitting at the moment, and she would like to find it. I'm trying to draw and it's not working for me. I'd like to cast a bonfire under the ogre zombie,
Nice.
please. I was attempting
Yeah.
to draw it, but it's not working.
That's all right.
It's a 5
Theater
foot.
of the minding it.
Yeah, someone's drawing me nice flames there. Thank you. It's a 5-foot
good.
bonfire underneath the ogre. Could he do a dex save, please?
Because he's holding the weapon. So he go
That's
once
a
he
very good
is-
point.
Right.
In that case, can he please take 8 fire damage?
Fire damage.
Now, would you argue that the ladder is being carried, or is it merely being held?
It's no longer being carried. He's deployed it there, and now he's bracing it so that the skeletons can run up it, basically.
Cool. Then whatever is ignitable of
Yeah.
that at the base ignites. The ladder's now on fire.
All right. Okay. That zombie looking pretty rough. Bren is now face to face with a zombie and a skeleton. He's going to try his luck at the other skeleton for the best. And you watch as this farm boy that you were all worried about, he cleaves through the other skeleton and cuts it down, cuts it completely in half without any issue. And at that point, he's seeing that the ladder's on fire and he can't now retreat to the wall. He's going to move when I get my map back. I've lost it again. He's going to move away from the zombie towards the wall, maybe towards Heave. He's going to shout for someone to throw a rope ladder because there's a number of those available so that he can climb up and get away from the ogre zombie. And that brings us to Heave.
Yep. If I wanted to chuck him a rope
So is
ladder,
that
is that
skeleton down? Sorry, is that skeleton down then? That one at the
skeleton is
bottom
down.
one.
I've just
Okay,
lost
no
my
worries.
ability to do anything on the map again.
so? To chuck down a rope ladder, is that an action, bonus action, or free action?
I'll let you do it as a bonus action because
Sure.
presumably they showed you where those were. It's not that complicated to unfurl it, so you can throw one down basically right where you are.
Yep. So I throw down a rope ladder where I am. So I think Brems was left to move about 30 feet to get there. So that's my bonus action. For my action, I'm still going to attack that is that ogre zombie still alive?
It is.
Yep. I still have Hunter's Mark active, so I'm still going to attack that. That is a 13 to hit.
And that hits.
All right.
Finish him.
15 force damage.
You see the zombie collapse in a heap on its own funeral pyre.
And wait. 3, 2, 1, and
Roll 20.
Yep, definitely gets back up again.
Blinks, looks at you, and stands back up again.
Of course it does.
And this is why we can't have nice things. All right, and that's my turn.
And that brings me to the guards in the initiative order. So they're going to both fire arrows. Nearly wipe dead. Hey, Talon hit someone.
Hey!
Hey, the
They
practice is
both-
paying off.
A small amount of damage, but each time you see the ogre zombie go 15, 3. So Talon's first hit of the entire encounter slays that ogre zombie. It is dead.
Yay.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice
work,
work,
Dad.
Talon.
And about now, the husk zombie who missed in the initiative order, he moves up. He's got 40 feet of movement, so he's going to hit the base of that ladder. That's burning. Ignore the fact that it's burning. Look at the
Okay, so if he's just moved into that though, he needs
Yep,
to.
he's going to take some damage.
I believe so. So he needs to make the dex save. Nah, damn it. Yeah, no, he's fine.
Half damage.
No, it's actually just
No.
fire damage if you don't succeed.
So he moves and he's standing at the base of the ladder. That his ability to move, and he's going. And the two skeletons are going to charge down. Going to try Bren and the rope ladder, but they can see that you've nicely dropped for them. I don't think that they'll get there with 30 feet. If someone wants to drag them close to where Bren is. And I think Lexi.
I think I'm next. That looks about right. So the husk zombie, sorry, is he right at the bottom of the ladder or is he part way up
He's
yet?
the base. No, he's at the base of the ladder.
So he's a good 20 feet
standing in the
away from me?
fire. Yep.
Okay. If he's 20 feet away, then I will just firebolt him. And that's only an 8 to hit, though.
That misses.
That's me done then.
Okay. That brings us all the way back up the initiative order. Horrendous. You're the surviving person with the highest initiative.
Can I get a dex save from the zombie at the bottom of the ladder?
15.
So that is a fail. So it is going to get sacred flamed. So that's 7 radiant damage.
Okay, 7 damage.
To that one, and then sacred
Spiritual weapon. Yep.
spiritual spade is going to work that skeleton. Picture it. 50.
That's
Sorry. 10 force damage.
okay. 17 points of damage. Earn that round. The ballista now can't hit anything, everything's too close to them. So they're going to reload and be ready in case something becomes available. That brings us to Ark.
So Ark is going to cast a firebolt at the husk zombie with a natural 20.
Okay.
Nice.
I
So,
don't know how you do nat 20
we can double the
damage.
dice. Yeah, we can double the dice this time.
Right. So that is 4 damage. 4 fire damage out of 2d10.
Right.
Better than nothing.
Yep. Having so many casters, this could have gone one of two ways, and so far it's immensely lucky that you guys not just completely annihilated them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the end of Ark's turn.
All right. Bren is going to scale the rope himself to safety, and he is just out of the reach of those skeletons, so he's not going to attract any attack of opportunity. He's just going to get himself back to the top of the wall, and he's going to get to the top of the wall and look like sweaty and breathless and just need to sit down for a. And that brings us to Heave.
All right. So
We've got to get rid of that rope.
yeah. So Heave moves about 30 feet to where Brem is and where the rope is. Would you allow me to use a bonus action to kick down the rope ladder?
You'd have to soar it, like it's physically.
Oh, it's mounted.
Which is
Yep.
why it's easy to deploy. But so it would cost you your action to destroy it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll just do that. I will just use my scimitar and then I will just cut the rope so that it falls the.
Easily done. Okay, the rope ladder falls into immensely frustrated skeletons. The base of that rope ladder. Okay.
And I think that's
Anything
my
else?
turn. No, I think that's everything.
Again, my beyond has dropped. So, who does that give us?
I think after he would have been
Big
the skeletons.
to
I think
not
it's skeletons
have
next,
initiative
isn't it?
tracking in. Yeah, okay. So the skeletons will take their 30 feet and get to the ladder that is burning.
They need to do dex saves as they get there,
They will do
please.
17 and 5.
Okay, the one that rolled 5 gets 7 fire damage, please.
Just burns to a crisp. It was already pretty badly damaged. So one of those skeletons is dead. As soon as I get my map back, I will take it away for you. And the other one makes it to the ladder and halfway up the ladder before it runs out of steam. And that's going to be the end of them. And I think the guns take a turn somewhere about now.
Yeah, they do.
See if the bows have any. What's a skull? Right, that'll be another one. And double natural one.
Ooh.
Fast.
So both of the archers, or the crossbow and the archer, both fire without any success at all. And that brings us to the husk zombie, who is going to climb the wall. And is going to swing at whoever's closest. Probably going to be
Probably still me because I was standing at the very top of the ladder.
Yeah, you were trying to pass the bonfire. Yeah. Okay. So it makes 2 claw attacks. 20 to hit and 22 to hit.
They both hit.
Sorry, one of them is
You've got that
distracted.
blasted spell, don't you?
I do. He's just no, and there's just like sparks of magic come out of her hand, and one of them shoots as I cast silvery barbs.
Silvery barbs, the bane of every DM everywhere. So one of those misses, and you take 4 points of slashing damage. All right.
Thanks, Ark.
It is going to stay there because it's got you all in its range. I can see. So now we've got a zombie and a skeleton on top of the wall. That should be pretty much where we're up to. Hopefully. This is working how I think it is. We can now zoom. Your version should now also zoom. Which is what we should have been able to do all night. Okay. So, in our initiative order,
Must be my turn
be Lexi.
to hit back at zombie.
And you'll have advantage because of my silvery barbs.
It's not already overpowered.
How well too? It's really not. I will. Oh, look, let's be honest. We're just going to stick with the fire here, aren't we? Do you know what? I'm going to move my. Oh, no, because that. I'm going to drop the bonfire that's downstairs and I am going to firebolt the guy in front of me with advantage.
Melee with you, so disadvantage, so just make a straight roll.
That.
Yep, fair. $13 to hit.
No, it's
I don't know what it is with me and singeing eyebrows tonight, but could you give him 1 fire damage, please?
he takes 1 fire damage.
Thank
He
you.
looks unimpressed.
Singed.
Singed.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. And back to the top of the initiative order, Arindus.
she's going to move the spiritual weapon up and try and whack that skeleton.
Rolling it.
11. Yeah, misses.
I think actually on the skeleton. No, it does. Yep, sorry. It misses. The zombies are useless. The skeletons are actually pretty good.
And then she's going to try to guiding bolt that zombie off the ledge.
Okay.
40.
That is
12 radiant damage.
takes 12 points of radiant damage. He looks really bright.
And advantage on the next attack.
Okay. The ballista is going to hold its fire again, and that brings us to Arc.
Ark's really conflicted because there's a skeleton right in front of her, but Lexi's in danger. But what she's going to do is just reach out and grab hold of this skeleton with a shocking grasp. Does the skeleton have any metal armor on?
No.
Wouldn't have thought so, but
Leather and hide, but
Worth asking.
it is
it's
19
still
to hit
hits. Yeah.
with 7 lightning damage.
Okay. See the bolt of electricity carve through this skeleton, and I guess it briefly looks like one of those X-ray cartoons, and then it smolders a little bit and glares at you. Okay. Next in the initiative order is Bren.
No, you can't roll the
Bren
dice.
has had a moment of thinking about his near escape from death and doesn't feel super thrilled about rushing back into the fray, but he's had pretty good luck with skeletons, so he's going to come and try and save the half-elf sorcerer right in front of him and see how this unfolds. So he swings at the skeleton. You guiding bolted the zombie, didn't you?
Yeah.
Horrendous. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Not skeleton, no.
So he swings at the skeleton and misses, and he is going to try his luck at an unarmed attack against the skeleton with a 15. For 2 points of damage. He's just infuriated now at the undead that have destroyed his home and his family. Okay, Heave.
All right, so Heave is going to move 30 feet just to the corner.
Yep.
And then he should be within 30 feet of the husk zombie, which he is. And then he's going to use one bonus action to activate one of his class abilities, which I've been wanting to use for ages, but would just have been out of range the whole time. Planar Warrior. As a bonus action, choose one creature that I can see within 30 feet. Next time I hit that creature this turn with a weapon attack, all damage dealt by the attack becomes force damage, and the creature takes an extra 1d8 of force damage from the attack. So I've been waiting so long for that. So yeah, let's roll to hit. And is this with advantage because of the guiding bolt?
Is guiding bolted. There's a bright light shining over the zombie.
Okay, so close. That was a 19 on the die, which becomes a 28 to hit.
Oh, that hits.
Yep. And so the force damage is... It's not spectacular. 12 points of force damage.
Okay, you see this arrow hit the husk zombie and it heals over briefly and bits of it start to singe, and you think for a minute that down. Everybody within 10 feet needs to make a dexterity saving.
Oops.
There's Lexi with the guards. Arc, probably just. All three of the
Freddie, can you
guards
make
and
me
the
a dex
skeleton.
save? Freddie, do you want to make me a dex save? No? Now you don't want to roll the dice. Okay, fine. So. Nat 20 for a 21.
Saves. Lexi
14.
save.
That was clearly because I've got the cat with me.
Talent. Talon does not save. Lara does not save. Bren just save. Okay. None of you failed, I think, from memory. But the guards, that as the zombie dies, it almost explodes in this sort of this miasma of necrotic goop sprays everywhere around it, and you see it hit the guards, and where it hits them, their skin starts to sizzle and fester. All right. Bren's still up. Owen's 5. Okay. Takes us to...
Do my dice.
I want to be the guard's turn. Okay. Between the three of them.
I think, sorry, it might be I think it may actually be the skeleton turn before the guards. Or so standing immediately next to the skeleton.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Okay. The skeleton looks around at its options, and it sees half elf that's been throwing fire, and it sees a guy who just annihilated a zombie with a like magical arrow thing, and it sees another caster that's been throwing fire, and then it sees the farm boy who has carved apart skeleton friends. And it's going to take a short sword attack against Bren. And it's going to miss. So it's going to stay where it is. And now it's the guards' turn. They're all going to have a crack defeating this skeleton quickly.
Kick him off the battlements.
Hey, there we go. And that's going to... So you watch as Bren swings and misses, but Talon, who's been completely useless with the bow all night, picks up his short sword and carves the skeleton in half.
Nice.
All right. That takes us out of initiative, and in fact brings us pretty close to a point where we can take a pause. So I did say 2.5 hours, so we've hit 2.5 hours. If you guys need to step away or want to step away, then that is entirely understandable. If you have another half an hour in you, I am going to narratively jump ahead a few rounds, bring on, I guess, a second wave of combat for you. Depends on how everyone feels.
I can keep going unless the phone rings.
I'm happy to stay for more fighting.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm good. We're going to need a separate initiative roll for Fred.
Yeah. He's thrown both of my dice on the floor that I had out.
Although, hey, that one's a nat 20.
Good job, Fred.
Oh,
Told you to let him roll for you.
Fred, I don't know where the other one is, though. Oh, find that later. Cheeky kitty.
So, while there's a lull in the battle, you hear the sounds of ongoing combat all around the keep, but for a moment at least, there are no immediate threats near you and on your side of the wall. You take a moment together to catch your breath and I guess prepare. You hear the sound of creatures, bones and flesh and monsters in the forest beyond your line of sight. But you've got a moment now before that happens to do anything that you might want to do.
Healing hands, Bren, 4, 6 HP.
He really needed that. He was going to be heroic sacrifice in about one hit. Okay.
Don't be a hero, mate. You're better off staying up here. We've got to work together.
does anyone else need some healing?
Lexi's the sort of person who is just going to look away when you ask that question.
Yeah. Both of the other guards, Talon and Mara, are both wounded, but not less than half HP. And
They probably need it a lot more than I do.
Who looks the most? Who looks the most
he probably
wounded?
took the most. You?
9 damage. Sure, I guess I can do a spare a cure wounds for myself. Yeah. Let's see what that rolls as. Oh, 9. 13 healing. Excellent. So that's good for me. Yep, but I still do have 2 other spell slots to heal if anyone else needs something.
Okay.
Do you have other
So-
spells that you use? Do you need to save that? So
The only thing I was really saving it for was either for a healing word or if someone falls off the battlements when I was going to cast Featherfall.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And how are you guys going for arrows?
I have about 8 left. How many does Talon have?
He's got
Yeah.
6.
What are the chances that we could send you,
Find some more
send
arrows?
you guys down to, if there's no enemy immediately in front of us, can we send you guys down some rope ladders to pull some of the arrows back? Or have they all gone up in flames?
I've got a light crossbow and bolts, which I'm happy to give to one of the archers because I'm unlikely to use it.
I
Likewise.
also have a sling that one of you could use if you needed to start just chucking whatever you can find at them. Might be good for getting the holy water out there.
Yeah. I have backup swords in case I need it, but I probably wouldn't say no to some arrow bolts.
So at the moment, there's nothing there that I can
Nothing
see.
that you can see.
Then I'm going to go down the rope ladder that we put to get Bren up, and I'm going to place.
When you
Can I get the-
So there's
Can I?
one
Is there
that's-
anything there?
Yeah, so in and around that area, because there was a bonfire. Roll
Yeah.
an investigation check.
That would be a nat one.
You spend about 5 minutes looking.
I don't want to find
Yes,
arrows.
there.
I don't want to find
Yeah,
arrows.
No, what are you
I
looking
want
for? Okay,
to.
you definitely don't.
Oh, I'm
find
not
arrows.
looking for anything. Sorry,
Good.
I'm not looking for anything. I've got 2 hunting traps. So if we're all clustered along this bit of wall and they appear to come to try and get us on the top of the wall, I'd like to set 2 hunting traps at the bottom of the wall. So with the
Okay.
intention of potentially baiting them to a ladder and putting putting a trap at the bottom of the ladder.
That's something that you have done in the past, and so I'm not even going to make you roll for that. You've set up 2 traps roughly where the previous siege ladder was.
Okay.
In fact, that siege ladder is still there, although it's crispy, but the bonfire got dropped, so it's not burnt all the way through. So there is still that
Yeah.
siege ladder there.
So it looks like there's places where they would try to climb because either we're at the top or there's access, there's a ladder. I'm going to put there's a bear trap, a sawtoothed hunting trap at the bottom. So probably at the bottom of the one where where they tried to climb up, and possibly the one that the emergency escape ladder that they then tried to climb up. So down there somewhere. Yeah, two of them.
Okay. So you've put some traps out, found no arrows, and you hear the creaking. Actually, you hear the creaking of wheels in the distance, and doesn't fill you with a huge amount of comfort. And as you clamber back up the ladder, the dense fog that was around the keep has blown back in again, and it's starting to obscure parts of the landscape.
As
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so as that whole area becomes obscured, I'm going to use, not now, but I'm going to hold it for when I can hear stuff approaching. I'm going to use Eyes of the Grave, which allows me to know the location of undead within 60 feet.
Okay. All right.
But I'll wait until I hear stuff approaching in the mist.
Okay. So at about this point, figures climbing onto the wall from the inside of the keep, up the ladder near the tower where you had been. One figure who's wearing plate armor, who looks like Captain Vane that you met at the start. Another older, young, wearing just chainmail and carrying a crossbow, and they climbed onto the wall, and they've not, you guys are all clustered down that south end, so they haven't come to see you. They've just climbed straight up to the ballista, and you can hear shouting, arguing,
They
some
know
kind
Undead.
of disruption on the tower with the ballista. What do you want to do?
I think I would like to go and investigate. He would probably just wants to sneak up close to the tower and then try to listen or see what is going on.
Hold
Yeah.
on 1 second. Can I just... Can I just ask, if I were to move a bit closer, can I see any of them? Like, from where we're standing on the wall, can we actually see any of the people up on the tower?
No, it's you saw them. They have to pass. They pass through your vision as they climb the ladder. But and that's how you knew that they were there. But you can't see them atop the tower. You can see the shape of the ballista, and you can hear a disagreement. But that's all.
I think we need to check that out. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah. So Lexi, Heave,
Uh,
guys were both
yeah.
heading up that way.
I would like to move to about where I am now. I've moved myself up. And I would like to cast message to the captain and say, Captain, it's Lexi. Can you let us know what's going on up there? Do you need support?
You mutter the words and reach out, and normally you're used to hearing something, What it feels like is that the recipient is out of range. The message bounces in the ether, and you get a feeling that the message wasn't received.
I'm going to say to the others around me, there's something going on with them. I should be able to cast a message at that captain, even though I can't see him properly, because I've met him.
What he looks like,
and I know what he looks like, and that definitely looks like him. I don't know if those are them and they're now like undead or something. I'm not sure if there's some sort of duplicates or someone's cast some sort of illusion, but we need to tread carefully. I'm not convinced they're legit.
Arindis is going to grow these sort of spectral wings out of her back and then fly up 30 feet to look down on the tower.
Yep. Okay. Just gonna pull out the celestial card. Got it. Okay.
So they're up for a minute.
Fly up.
Yeah.
Fly 30 feet up, and what you
I'm going to fly up. I want to stay roughly where I am, maybe forward a bit, but largely up so I can see down onto the ballista tower.
Make a perception check with advantage.
No, 18.
Okay. What you can see is it certainly looks like the captain and another soldier are there, and from what you can see, they are in a physical confrontation with the two chained convicts.
I call down to everybody on the wall. Whoever that is trying to murder the convicts, and given that they were fairly useful with the blister, I'm thinking they are no longer on our side.
Bastard promised us amnesty. And Heave rushes up.
All right. So Heave's going to rush the tower.
Yep.
Okay. Bren was next to you, so Bren's going to follow you because he thinks you know what you're doing. Before we roll initiative, everyone else.
I'll show him.
I was gonna say, Lexi, sounds like we'd better go and check out what's going on. And just
Yeah.
towards the tower too.
Yeah, we better.
Okay. You're all going to rush up a single set of stairs to a tightly confined space where you can now hear the sounds of what sounds like actual violence, people crying out in pain and so forth. We're going to keep the initiative order that we had, and I'm going to just quickly tidy up initiative order, but that means that my villain doesn't keep dying.
Now, Arindis had been holding something, I think, to detect undead within a certain range.
Undead.
Yeah.
So that's where she's moving. So she's not rushing up there. She is still flying. She's flying, not fully, but now at the level where she can just see the top of the tower and keep an eye on everybody there and staying about 60 foot out. And so, yeah, Eyes of Brave. So just to be within range of that.
Yeah. Hey,
So are these things undead?
At 60 feet, float into range and you don't get a glimmer. You don't get a sense that there's undead.
Right.
Yeah, you don't get they're not undead.
Okay. I shout down. They are not undead. They are simply traitorous.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so in my initiative order, Captain Vale goes first, and you guys can't really see yet what's happening there. Do some stuff and not tell you about. And Arindus, you'd be next in our initiative.
You're muted, Emma, if you're talking.
Sorry, thank you. So there's two that we can see attacking the gunner.
Yeah, so what you can see, there are four
Right.
figures on the roof, and you
Two gunners and
there.
two
Yeah.
others. Yeah. She is going to shout at the one that appears to be, at least from where she is, attacking the gunners, the convicts. Whichever one she really saw doing that, wisdom save.
Okay. Wisdom saving. Yeah.
And she hovers there with these sort of spectral wings and just shouts, "Stop and lie down," at the one that's trying to kill these sort of chained, exhausted convicts.
What are you casting?
Command.
One word.
Prone.
Stop. Prone.
Stop. Prone.
Okay. The guard captain appearing figure in the plate armor lays down, stops what he's doing, and lays down. Okay.
Would you have accepted fly?
Straight.
Yeah, the finish rate was the other one.
Love it.
I recommend be directly harms them.
Yeah.
I think the good old classic disrobe is another one.
Ah, yeah.
Be pretty good.
Yep. Very expensive plate armor that you've got to take it off.
Bren's there. He's very young.
No, that's true.
The convicts is making death. What? Oh. Ark, you're up next.
Are is Ark able to tell which one of those convicts was making death saves? Is one of them clearly visibly on the ground?
So as you guys all climb as you hit your initiative in this round, you're going to make it to the top step. And at the top step there, you can see closest to you, there's the convict closest to you looks to be bleeding out, and standing over him is the squire looking soldier who has just pulled his short sword out of the convict's chest. So they're the ones that are really 5 feet from you.
Looks like murder to me.
And is the guard squire wearing armor?
He is wearing, he's wearing mail.
So Ark is going to approach the guard squire and say, "What the hell?" and shocking grasp him, which will be with advantage. So 17.
Yeah, that hits.
All right. So that does 1 lightning damage. So the way I see it is really she's wanting to ask what's going on rather than try and completely incinerate him just yet.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
Does he
On his turn, he might. All right, that brings us to Bren, who has followed up the stairs and sees the convicts who he have a lot of love for, but recognizes that without them, you guys would have been fighting ogre zombies, and that they've done some good. but he is confused by the presence of his captain and another soldier. So he's going to hold his action unless he's directly threatened. He's not really sure what he's going to do. And that makes it Heave's turn.
All right. So first of all, thank you to Ark for casting Shocking Grasp on the Guard Squire, because it means that Heave can go directly to the Guard Captain 30 feet without triggering a reaction. And a reaction attack. And now Heave, because this guy is prone, is that correct?
He is.
Yep.
So that, I believe that means attack with advantage with melee weapons.
It does.
Okay. So, first of all, bonus action, going to cast Healing Word on the convict that's down.
So the convict that you ran past is unconscious, and the one that you're running towards looks very nearly dead.
Okay. I'll do Healing Word on the one that's unconscious, because that one has two. So that would be, let me just roll, cast a spell. Actually, no, it's a free class action, so I can do it once for free. 11 hit points.
Hey, it's better than how he started the day.
Yay.
All right.
Now I have my attacks. So I'm
Yeah.
going to attack once with my scimitar. And so that is, so let's roll to hit. So 14 and 8. So 14 plus, what is it? 14 plus 5. So 19 to hit.
Hits.
Okay. And so this is going to be 1d6 plus 5. So, 6. So that's 11. That is a 11 slashing damage. And also, because of my mastery with the scimitar, I get the nick quality. When I make an extra attack of the light property, I can make it as part of the attack action instead of bonus attack action. So I can make this extra attack once per turn. I think it means essentially that I can use an offhand attack with my short sword as, instead of doing a bonus action, I could have it same as the action.
Yeah,
is my
correct.
understanding.
So you still have correct. So you can take your offhand strike. Yeah.
Yep. Which again is just just a single d6. So that is 24 to hit,
That hits.
and that's just 1 slashing damage.
He takes a
Total of
slashing
12.
damage. All right.
Yep, and that's bonus action. That's action. Yeah, there we go.
But okay. Now it's the squire's turn. He's going to look at all of you, a little confused that guys charged in and that not really thrown by their attire, their presentation. And everybody, all of you, need to make a wisdom saving throw. Everybody on the tower.
Okay.
Arindus, you're safe.
Oh, it's not good. That's a 6.
That's really not good.
You are frightened. Lexi, you are frightened.
Oh, I think.
Are you immune?
Let me just try and find it. Sorry. Oh, no. Charmed.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So, Ark, you're frightened. Lexi's frightened. Eve is frightened. Bren is not frightened. The other two guards stayed along the wall to make sure that nothing came, so they are not close enough to this to be in part of the battle. And the gunners are frightened but can't run away because they're chained. That was unsettling visage. And what is the squire appearing humanoid and takes the shape. Their shape distorts, the colors of their clothing change. They grow about a foot taller, their limbs seem a bit longer and more elastic, and they look monstrous even, and what you're faced with is not something that you're familiar with at all. It does not look like a human, and he is going to attack.